So when interest rates were at historic lows, SVB bought more than $20 billion in long-term treasury bonds. And to be fair, they were encouraged by the government to do this. All banks were. The problem was when interest rates went up, as they were always going to because they can't stay at zero forever. Did you know that? Well, when that happened, those bonds lost their value. And that, of course, was a disaster for a ton of banks, but a true disaster for SVB. And then a disaster for a lot of individuals who had their money there and companies that had borrowed money from SVB. So you can expect a lot of bankruptcies in the coming weeks due to this. And then the countless downstream effects from those bankruptcies, all of them bad. So this is a disaster, not just for the tech industry, people you could easily make fun of, but for everyone, for all of us. But the interesting thing is the Biden administration doesn't seem to care at all. They're not that interested because numbers, whether you're making money or losing money or doing something efficiently or doing it sloppily, doesn't really matter as long as you're making videos about pioneering female bankers and as long as they get to ski in Tahoe. That's the real concern. So just today, Biden's top economic advisor, Cecilia Rouse, addressed reporters in the White House in the briefing room about what had just happened. And she assured everybody that the bank run we're watching is an isolated incident. No, it's not a big deal. It's just this one bank. It's not connected to anything else at all. And the fact that this bank failed, just like the fact that FTX failed, has nothing to do with the fact that the people who run it spent a ton of their time doing completely irrelevant crap that had to do with politics and changing American culture. Are you reassured by that? Well, you should know that Cecilia Rouse has been thinking a lot about this. When she worked at Princeton, which is a university in New Jersey, she wrote her research agenda on diversity, equity, and inclusion. The title is, we're quoting, Diversity in the Economics Profession, a new attack on an old problem. Because the color of your economists is essential. Their competence, not so much. Just so you know. And by the way, these are the consequences of that attitude. See South Africa, where they don't have electricity tonight. Coincidentally or not, that is the very same topic, diversity in economics, that our director of our National Economic Council, Lael Brainerd, is also fixated on. Another genius. When Brainerd was at the Fed in 2021, she wasn't too concerned about future bank collapses due to the insane and reckless Fed policy she was overseeing. No, why worry about that? Because there's climate change. And that's what she was really worried about. Climate change, quote.
Low interest rates may make wealth inequality worse.
When interest rates are low, the economy, if it's not in crisis, is zooming along, fueled by low interest rates. More and more people come into the workforce, more jobs might be created, and there's an increasing possibility that wage and income inequality go down during periods of a hot economy. Wealth inequality, when interest rates are low, tends to go up. That is because when interest rates are low, other assets go up in value. And so what we've seen often is wealth inequality has increased when interest rates are low.
In the United States, central bankers have kept interest rates near zero for the better part of 15 years. In that time, a significant debate has rippled across the field of economics. Is this so-called zero interest rate policy good, bad, or the best available option?
Having interest rates at zero for such a long period of time is very unusual. Frankly, no one thought we'd ever get to that place. It's called the zero lower bound.
In the past, major central banks, including the Fed, took interest rates to the effective lower bound to fight deflation.
Deflation is essentially defined as a phenomenon whereby prices decline. That tends to delay economic activity and leads to a slump in economic activity. And that's why we essentially had this environment where the Fed was stimulating the economy.
When money is cheap or free, those that borrow money and then reinvest it tend to do better because their cost of borrowing is very low. And so private equity firms, leveraged buyout firms, many real estate investment trusts, investment ideas that are built around leverage, built around borrowing, have a harder time when interest rates go up than they do when interest rates are low. Suddenly, the amount that they have to pay back could go up.
Hi, it's Tisha Paul, breaking news from New York, USA. As you have seen, that we have been analyzing this new sector because people are saying, does the United States really owe $32 trillion? Yes, they do. It's a lot. It took Great Britain 40 years to pay off. It took Great Britain 60 years to pay off $40 billion. So I'm 47 years old. I will not live to see the 32 trillion being paid off, because it will take us 60 years to get out of 60 billion. So my kids are 9-year-old. They were born in the United States. They will not, even if they live to be 100, they will not live to see the 32 trillion. So 2 generations, if you're 46 in the United States, you will not live to see the 32 trillion being paid off. If you have a child that's 9 years old in the United States and your child lived to be 100, that child will not live to see the 32 trillion paid off. So yes, America is pretty much done. That explains why my gas tank could not be filled with $150 a month anymore. I never understood why my gas tank used to be $40 a month and now I need $300 a month for gas. Because the big government is wastefully spending our money on climate change. Immigration, they're telling everybody to come in. As you could tell, there are 500,000 people homeless in California. So the money is not being spent on the homeless. The money is not being spent properly. And you and I have no control over how they spend the money, but we do have control over how we invest our money. The average American owes $38,000 in student loan. And they were promised that their debt would be canceled, and the Supreme Court crushed that. Silicon Valley Bank, as you see what Tucker Carlson said on Fox, Silicon Valley Bank, the big government shut it down, just shut it down for no reason. The Federal Reserve, as you saw what CNBC said on the Federal Reserve, the money's being mismanaged. You and I have no control over that. Climate change comes first for big government. Also, the woke culture. That is what they're spending money on. The federal government is responsible for our kids' education. They're spending billions of dollars trying to teach kids the difference between male, female, and now transgender. So that also is adding to the $32 trillion. They would rather mess with our kids' brain than go ahead and balance the budget and stop wasting the money. So since we have no, and they went after XRP for no reason, because the judge said that XRP is not a security. They already knew it wasn't. I mean, every security lawyer knew that it wasn't, but Gary Gensler somehow went ahead and filed a lawsuit anyway. That's wasteful money right there. Now they've been thinking to appeal XRP. And Coinbase, Banaka, they did nothing. They're using money to go after these people because the dollar is dying, and they are bringing a digital dollar. The United States has Fed now. So they want to have a relationship between the government and you. They don't want the banks in anymore. So I'm telling people, hedge yourself against the US dollar, because it's never going to come back in your lifetime. And you need to start an online business. Look into cryptocurrency. Look into buying American stocks. I know that average person owes $32,000 on car, which you got to get rid of the car loan. 15,000 credit cards, you got to get rid of that. And 38,000 in student loans. That doesn't work anymore. You cannot be in debt in the United States anymore. You need to invest your money. Look at Airbnb, look at YouTube, look at Facebook, TikTok. You've got to start investing, because the United States dollar is dying and the big government is not telling us. They didn't balance the budget. You cannot operate without a balanced budget. Every mother in America knows that. Everybody teach their child to balance a budget. I'm Tisha Paul. Go ahead, folks, and hit that free like and that free subscribe button. We'll be back tomorrow with more.